Hey guys, so we're going to be covering part 5 of the SHSAT 2021 math section. So we're going to be starting at question 92. Okay. So we're being asked to evaluate this expression. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to simplify this absolute value. And in order to do that, I need to add or subtract basically everything inside of this expression. So according to order of operations, I'm going to start from the left and go to the right. So we know that negative 8 minus 12 is negative 20. So now I have negative 20 plus negative 17 minus negative 31. Okay, and now I'm going to keep going left to right. So negative 20 plus negative 17 is negative 37. Okay. Right, and I should do this. Okay, and now we have negative 37, and then minus minus is just plus. So negative 37 plus 31 minus 24. Okay. So negative 37 plus 31 is just negative 6. And then we have minus absolute value 24, which is just minus 24. And then the absolute value of negative 6 would just be 6. So we have 6 minus 24, and that is just negative 18, which is F. Okay. So 93, we have a table of different color cell phones and the percent of those cell phones sold. Okay. And those percents are given in terms of a variable K. The table, right, and we know that it's percent of cell phones sold. So for example, if we look at black phones, those represent 30% of all cell phones sold. So 3 in 10 cell phones that are sold would be black. And they add up to 100%, right? Okay, so the table above shows the cell phone sales by color and what percent of the cell phone sold were blue. Okay, so we know that all these quantities, right, 8K, 30 minus 2K, K plus 5 must add up to 100. And the reason for this is because a phone that is sold must be obviously one of these 4 colors, right? It can't be anything else. So we can just add up these quantities. So we have 8K plus 30 minus 2K plus K plus 5 is equal to 100. Okay, so I'm going to solve for K. So let's see, this is 7K plus, so right, 8K minus 2K plus K, that's 7K. And then 30 plus 30 plus 5 is 65. So we have this. Now I'm going to scroll down. So 7K is 35. K is 5. Okay, and now we know that the blue cell phones were given by this percentage, I think. So if we plug in K, that would be 20%. So that would be B. So 20% of the sold cell phones are going to be blue. All right. So we have another number line, I guess. Okay. So we have a number line with X, Y, and Z. We're told that the distance between X and Y is 1 unit, and the distance between Y and Z is 2 units. And we're being asked what the distance is between Y and the midpoint of X and Z. right? So we know that x and z are 3 units away from each other. So the midpoint would be 1.5 units away from x, right? So I'm going to call the midpoint m. So we know that xm, the length of that is just 1.5. So let me redraw this actually. So this is x, this is m, and then we have, let's say, y here, right? So we know that this length is 1, and this length is 1.5. And we're being asked what the distance is between y and this midpoint of x and z. So we can just fill it in, right? So we know 1.5 minus 1 is just 0.5. And so that's the distance that we're looking for. So a distance between y and the midpoint. And that would be e. Okay. By what percent did the price of a cup of coffee increase if its price was increased from $1.25 to $1.35? So if we look at the percent change formula, I think it is old minus new over old times 100. So now we're going to calculate the percent change. So the percent change is equal to, so our old value was $1.25. The new value is, it might be new minus old for percent increase. So therefore, our percent change would be 1.35 minus 1.25 over 1.25 times 100. So that's just 0.1 divided by 1.25 times 100. And now I'm going to multiply this. I'm going to multiply 0.1 and 0.25 both by 100. So that would be 10 over 125 times 100. And then we can divide these by 25. So 100 divided by 25 is just 4. 125 divided by 5 is 5. So then 10 over 5, that's just 2, right? So then 2 times 4 is 8. So it's 8% increase. So that would be our answer. Alright, 96. Raquel is cutting out pieces of cardboard to make a pyramid. She will use a square piece for the base and identical triangular pieces for the sides. So basically, our pyramid, it looks like this. So this is, I'm not great at drawing in 3D, but yeah, basically this is what the pyramid would look like. So we have a square base, right? And then our, and then the identical triangular pieces for the sides, it would look like this in 2 dimensions, right? Okay, the figure above shows the dimensions of the triangle for each side. What will be the total surface area in square inches of the pyramid, including the square base? Okay, so basically we need to, so if we look at the surface area, it's going to be basically 4 of these triangles, right? Because a triangle on all 4 sides, basically. So we need to take the area of these 4 triangles plus the area of the square base to get the surface area. So surface area is equal to area of triangle times 4 plus area of square. Okay, so let's calculate this. So surface area is, so the area of the triangle, we're told that this length right here is 12 inches, right? So that would be the height. So to find the area of the triangle, we do height times base over 2. And remember that there are 4 triangles, so we have to multiply by 4. And then finally, we're going to add the area of the square. So we know that if this is our like triangular base, so these sides are going to be like 13, right? The sides are going to be 13, but then this flat part right here is going to be also the length of the square base, so that's going to be 10, right? And therefore, since the length of our square base is 10, the area of the square would just be 10 times 10. Okay, so then the surface area, we can just simplify this, obviously. So this is 6. So 6 times 10 times 4 is 240, plus 10 times 10 is 100, and therefore the total surface area is 340. So let's look at 340 inches. So what will be the total surface area in square inches of the whole pyramid, including the square base? So it's 340. Okay. The price of a sandwich was raised from this amount to this amount, and again, we're being asked for the percent increase, right? So we apply the same formula, right? So new price minus old price over old price times 100. So this would just be, right, so the difference between new and old would just be 50 cents, and then the old price is $6.25 times 100. Okay. So now we're going to multiply by 100, so we get 50 over 625 times 100. And I don't know, what is this value? It would be, it's 625 over 5,000. So that's, yeah, that's 8. So that's 8%. Okay. Terrell played 5 computer games and earned a mean score of 8 points per game. If his mean score for the first 4 games was 7 points per game, how many points was his score in the 5th game? So we know that he played 5 games, and the mean across this was 8 points per game. And now for the first 4 games, the mean, and I'm going to represent that as M prime, was 7 points per game. So we know that the M is just the total score over the 5 games that he played, right? Because it's the total sum or the total score over the number of games. And so furthermore, we know the M is just 8, right? So therefore, the total score across the games is just 40. And then we can also, by similar logic, find the total score over the first 4 games. So we know that M prime is equal to total over the first 4 games over divided by 4 games, right? Because it's just the average over the first 4 games. And we know that M prime is just 7. So therefore, the total over the first 4 games is 28. Okay, so if the total over all 5 games is 40 and the total over the first 4 games is 28, then the in the 5th game we must have gotten 12 points, right? So to bring the total from 28 to 40, we need to get 12 points in the 5th game. So that would be G. Okay. Alright, so Leon bought enough oranges to fill 4 bags. Each bag contains 8 oranges, right? So we have 8 times 4, or 32 oranges across the 4 bags. The total cost of the oranges was $11.52. So for 32 oranges, we paid $11.52. And we want to know if we have 42 oranges, how much does that cost, right? So we set it up as a proportion like this, and then we can just cross multiply. Okay, and then this would be, I don't know what that would be. I don't know, I'm going to plug it into a calculator, but it's just arithmetic, right? So 11.52. Okay, so that's, it's 15.12. Okay. But yeah, you can just do the, like, multiplication or whatever. Okay, 3.6 divided by 0.018. So let's write this as a fraction. Okay, so I'm going to multiply. So what I want is I want this to become 18. So I know that I have to shift 1 to 3 decimal places. I know I have to shift the decimal to here. So if I'm shifting 3 decimal places, then I have to multiply by 10 to the third on the numerator and denominator. And so this would become, so 1, 2, 3, that would become 3,600, and then this would become 18, sorry. And then 36 over 18 is just 2, right? So we're left with 200 here. Okay. So we have a tank with 500 gallon capacity, and it contains 75 gallons out of the 500. Okay, additional water is poured into the tank at a rate of 5 gallons per minute. After 45 minutes of adding water, what percentage of the tank's total capacity will be filled? Okay, so we have a tank here, and we have some starting amount of water, right? We have 75 gallons. And basically, we're going to pour in new water at a rate of 5 gallons per minute. And we want to know after 45 minutes, like, what percent of the capacity. So the capacity is 500. So to find out the amount of gallons of water that are added, we know we have 5 gallons per minute, and we know that we're pouring water in for 45 minutes. So the minutes cancel out, and we're left with the fact that 225 gallons have been added. So we add our initial 75 gallons to the 225 that have been added to get a total of 300 gallons at the end of 45 minutes, right? And what percent of the tank's total capacity is that? So to find that, we do 300 over the capacity of 500 times 100. So that's just 3 over 5 times 100, which is 60%. Okay. So 102. Misha wants to use ribbon to make 2 straps for a backpack. Okay, the ribbon costs this much per yard, and we're told that each strap requires this many yards of ribbon. Okay, so we have like our backpack here, and then we have 2 straps, right? And each strap is 1 1/4 yards. So in total, so the ribbon that we need is 1 1/4 plus 1 1/4, so that's 2 1/2 yards. And we know that the cost of the ribbon is $5 per yard. So that therefore the total cost is the 2.5 yards that we need times $5 per yard. So our yards cancel out, and we're left with 2 1/2 times 5, which is $12.5. So that would be H, right? That's how much Misha will need to pay for the ribbon. Okay, and we'll end the 5th part of our video there.